Let's see how well Orbitkey did on their first sling. What's going on, everybody? This is Lamar with MF and Research, and today we're going to look at the Urban Sling by Orbitkey. Most people know Orbitkey for their key organizers, and I think they have a pen/tech pouch, but now they're getting into sling bags. This is their first one. This one's a little unique because this is the first ever Kickstarter that I've decided to back. This is probably my first item from them since I don't really do key organizers, but I am a fan of their Star Wars themed line of items. So the Urban Sling comes in the 2-liter mini, the 4-liter Urban Sling, and then the 6-liter Urban Sling Plus. This guy is the plus. We've got the 6-liter with us on the table today. In addition, I opted for the hand sanitizer that you can get as an add-on. So now let's take a look and see how this sling stacks up to some of the other ones we've looked at so far. As always, let's start with quality, materials, and hardware. Throughout this guy, it's a PU-coated waterproof exterior. It's 100% recycled fabric. On the front, you've got a Codra nylon. On the back, and then around the bottom, around the expansion part, you've got a ripstop nylon. On the inside, going in there real quick, you've got just some sort of polyester. There's no mention of denier on the interior or the exterior, but it's just this whitish, creamish, whatever color you want, gray interior, and it gives a nice highlighter effect so you can see what's inside. The YKK zippers, there's 2 AquaGuard zippers on the front compartments, and then there's just a reverse coil zipper on the back. One thing I'll talk about is they've got paracord zipper pulls, and then the knots are heat shrink tube, and I do like that. It keeps it nice and quiet, so you don't have to worry about that when you're shaking it. That's one thing I do like about that. Over here, they call this their custom hardware. It's branded with Orbitkey. You can hook stuff to it. There's a loop there, and it's just mimicked on the same side right there without the custom hardware on this side. On this part is where I put the hand sanitizer, and you'll see that in the loadout. And then this is my first time dealing with the Woojin buckle. So far, so good. And that's what we got on that guy. So overall, I gave it a score of a 7. The denier, just not knowing what it is, was kind of a concern for me. Not a huge deal, but I just like to know, just for the numbers guy in me. The recyclable thing, it could be a deal breaker for some. Doesn't really matter to me one way or the other, but it is something to keep in mind. It is a good thing. I'm not a fan of the 2 different materials. That kind of bothered me a little bit. I would have wished they'd rather stick with the ripstop or gone with the Codra. Either one would have worked for the bag. The only thing I will say is that the Codra does seem to lint and peel a little bit, so I'm not a big fan of that. The zippers and the buckles are good. I really like the paracord, and I like the heat shrink. That makes it real solid. I'm really appreciating that. The Woojin buckle is good, and I do think that the metal hardware was a nice addition right there. It's a really sturdy clip, so you can put some weight on that and don't have to worry about it failing on you or anything like that. So I do really like that. I wish more bag manufacturers would have more metal hardware on the outside sometimes. So now let's look at organization and ease of access. So this bag has 3 main compartments. Going in the front compartment right here, you've just got a top mesh pocket right here where you can put sunglasses, things like that, AirPods, stuff that's flat. It's a stretch mesh, it's zippered, and it's somewhat shallow sitting right at the top. There's your pin loop right there. There's 3 slip pockets right there. They're about the same size, but the way it's cut, these are a little more narrow on that side. And then you've got a little bit of space right here. Notice the pleats. It gives you an opportunity to gusset right there and put stuff in there if you want to. Forgot to mention there's some cord right there. You can put your keys or whatever right there. And then going into the middle compartment right here is probably my favorite compartment. This is where your expansion sits. Notice how wide that opens up compared. I really like that. There's not a lot as far as storage goes in here, but it's nice, good storage. There's nothing on this side as far as organization. And then there's these 2 mesh pockets that stretch, and they give you a lot of space right there. And then there's a pass through to the rear compartment to put your charging accessories and things like that. And then going into the back compartment, more space right there. You can put a tablet, a small tablet. I've put a Moleskin back here. I tried to put my tablet back here, but no, mostly what I put back here is my phones. So you can fit phones in either one of these slip pockets or that. They kind of mirror the front pockets, and I can show you that real quick. But they're just a little bit bigger. So for this, I gave it a 10. I thought it was fantastic. I thought that it was as little or as much organization as you wanted to. The pockets got out of your way if you didn't want to use them, but they were right there for organization if you did. You could get to all the pockets even when the bag was totally packed out. And I really liked how it expanded and contracted to your needs. It kind of laid flat. It wasn't really that big of a deal. Right now, it's completely empty. And look how flat it is. I mean, even if you just put a few things in there, I think it works to meet your needs. The other two things that really stand out in this bag on the interior are these mesh stretch pockets. I really like that. They add a lot of flexibility in what you want to carry. I threw pouches in there, and that's perfect. And then I also like, and you can see it with the pleating, the sides don't compete with each other. Once you pack this side out, you can still pack this one out, and you can still pack this one out. And I really like that as far as organization. The only thing I'd maybe add to improve it just a little bit is to maybe make some of it modular, but that's really it, and that's nitpicking. So overall, I think it was really good on the organization. All right, so let's talk about the comfort. Looking at it, there is a little bit of padding on the back, so that does give you some comfort when you're wearing it across your body. One thing I found is it's not very bulky or it's not too heavy. I didn't wear it in too hot of a climate, just about 90 degrees. I didn't get to my Texas 100-degree temperatures, but I didn't find any issues where the bag wore hot or anything, at least for me. If you run hot, that might be something you want to look at. We'll talk about the strap later. It contoured to my body well enough. I didn't feel like it was too bulky, so I felt it was pretty comfortable. So thinking about comfort, a bag is going to do one of three things. One, it's either going to be so insanely comfortable and magical that all you can do is talk about how amazing and comfortable it is. Two, it's going to just be so uncomfortable that's all you can think about. You can't wait to take the bag off. You regret using the bag. And three, you don't think about it at all because it just does what it's supposed to do and it doesn't get in your way. I think this guy falls into that category. It's not amazing, it's not awful, it just does what it needs to do and gets out your way. And because of that, I gave the score a 7. All right, so now let's talk about the design and the style. It's just a basic urban plain sling, nothing too flashy, no special features or anything like that. It's just a sling that's gonna do the job well. It comes in 3 colors. It comes in black, it comes in stone, and it comes in terracotta. I'm gonna say the terracotta is orange. That's what I picked up, and I got it in the size that I want. I gave it a 6. I'm really not a fan of the two-tone. Initially, it didn't bother me as much, but when you look at the bag and spend more time with it, especially as it's more packed out, you start to notice it a little bit, or at least I did. And because of that, it took a couple points down for me. It's not really doing anything other than being a nice low profile sling. So if you like it to be more of a statement piece, it's not going to be that. I think it's really just low profile, urban environment. It's not going to get in the way. It's not going to stand out. And you got to know that's what you're getting into when you get this guy. I forgot to mention, I think it makes a great crossbody as well. So let's talk about the versatility. As far as that goes, I think it works well across the chest or across your back. It doesn't really work well as a tech pouch like I like to use certain slings for, but it does those things that it's supposed to do very well. I really wouldn't use it in a hip slash fanny pack kind of style. Just crossbody is really where I think this thing excels. I also like the versatility of the expansion in this guy. Versatility in this aspect is one that we really haven't talked about. I think it's one of versatility of size. So instead of going smaller when you want a smaller sling or larger when you want a larger sling, I think this fits both of those bills. And to be completely honest with you, I really wouldn't go for the 4-liter. I could just get the 6-liter and put the stuff that I would put in the 4-liter in this. But if you really want that small, then go for the 2-liter. So I think the 2-liter and the 6-liter are the way to go in this guy if you're really interested. And if I didn't say it, scores a 6. So now let's talk about the size. So in terms of size, there's a 2-liter, there's a 4-liter, and this guy right here is the 6-liter. But given the way it wears, I think this is the way to go. They didn't really do a good job on the website as far as giving you the details on the interior. They tell you that the main compartment is 8 by 12 by 1.8. So looking at that, you're looking at about, give or take, depending on how you look at it, about 14 or so inches on the width on this guy. And then looking at it, maybe about 8.5, give or take, looking at the angle. So not a bad size sling. And the main compartment, I guess, takes most of that space. So I guess it's pretty close. And then the weight is just under a pound at 0.97 pounds. So it's not too heavy for what it is, especially given the size of a 6-liter sling. I think the size adjusts very well for what it is. It doesn't feel too bulky. It doesn't stick out too far. It conforms to your body. I think it's just the right size for being a 6-liter sling. Like I said, it almost feels like a 4-liter is unnecessary. I think it feels like a smaller sling to me. So some of my 4-liter slings feel about as big as this guy, at least when you're wearing it on the body. It may be a bigger footprint, but just the way it wears a little bit smaller than what I think it is. And for that, I'm gonna give the score as far as size goes. I think it's a great size. I think it's adjustable, and I'm gonna give it an 8. All right, so as far as availability goes, you're only gonna be able to get this guy from the Orbitkey website. I haven't seen it anywhere else other than there. I happened to pick mine up on the Kickstarter, like I said earlier. I haven't seen it out of stock since I've had the bag, so that's a good thing. But because you just can't pick it up anywhere, you can't comparison shop anywhere. It's only in one spot, but it's not out of stock, so that's a good thing. So to kind of balance that out, I'm going to give the availability a 6. All right, here we go. Let's talk about the strap. The material is the nice, soft seatbelt style mesh. If you're going to do a sling, do this, unless you do something else. There's really no padding to add on this guy anywhere. There is the Woojin buckle right here. And the strap is the same color as the bag. It's not removable. This right here is your quick adjustment, so it adjusts like that. This right here serves as your strap keeper to keep the strap kind of dangled. It's kind of all mixed in together. So I do like how that's set up. So you don't have a strap, it's all contained. So I feel like the strap is probably the weakest area on this bag. I just think simply it's confused. It feels like when you think about the hardware right here, it feels like it's set up for a left shoulder carry. But then when you look at how to operate this guy, the pull tab, and I'll show you that in B-roll while we're talking about it, I feel like it's better set up for a right shoulder carry. I feel like the custom hardware, while I do like it and really appreciated it, you should have put it on both sides. I really think that's an easy thing to do, and it would have added to the functionality of this bag. I think you should have just made it a little more ambidextrous. So if you're gonna have the buckle, just put it right there. Some people don't like that for the sake of security, but I think right here, it doesn't really do it any favors. And like I said, one of the things that was weird is wearing it on my right shoulder, using this guy since I was open carry and hand sanitizer, it felt kind of weird trying to put it on this guy. So I ended up clipping it here sometimes just to make the access a little bit easier, or switching it and just changing everything up and wearing it on my left shoulder. And one thing I don't really like to do is wear things different than the way I want to use a bag. So as far as the strap goes, it's as far as comfort and things like that, it's not horrible. I mean, I think it's fine for what it is. If you don't pack it out too far, I think it's just fine. But if you start to pack this out and it has the space to fit much more than a basic loadout in here, as you'll see in the loadout section, it starts to get a little heavy and could stand to use some additional padding at that point. And really only then. So as far as the pull tab goes, once you get used to it, it's very easy to tighten the bag up, but extending it and making it looser is a little bit more challenging. And with all those factors combined, I'm gonna say, because it's not a deal breaker per se, I'm just really picky on straps, I think. So keeping that in mind and tempering my expectations a little bit, I'm giving the score a 6. If you wanted to go lower, I wouldn't argue with it, but anything higher I think is being generous. So let's talk about the value on this guy. On the website, it comes in at about 110 bucks. It's free shipping, over $50, I guess in the US. And when I picked this guy up, I think I paid 85 bucks plus shipping, and I got the hand sanitizer option for free because I was early. So for that price, I think it's a better value than the full price. I think anything under $100 is a good value for this guy. If you were to look at it today at the time of releasing this video, I think they're offering a free keychain to go with the bag. So that's something, if you're into keychains and like that kind of stuff, that may be something that may push you over the edge and pick it up. But I think it's a great bag. I just don't know if I'd pay $110 for it, for what you're getting, and because of how the strap treated me. Like I said, I like the bag. Under 100, you can find it on sale all the time. You join their email list, you get 10% off. So with all that in mind, I'm gonna make the score on this guy as far as value as 7. All right, so let's talk about some of the nice to haves with the Orbitkey Urban Sling. Rapid fire style, there is mesh padding on the back. There's a nice low profile grab handle. I think more bags should take note from this. It fits in, it does what it needs to do. It's not that complicated, but it's a nice low profile handle. It says that the bag expands to fit a water bottle in there. I believe it. I used it a couple times, but not all the time. It says it'll fit up to 1 liter. And you can also clip it right there if you don't want to put it on the inside of the bottle. You technically could use it as a CCW bag, but it's not really optimized for that at all. And there's no loop panels on this bag at all. It's just plain like this. The interior is low profile, so you won't get any of that on there. And then the logo, you'll find the logo right there on the custom hardware. You'll find it right there on this side. You'll find it on the strap keeper. And then the last place you'll find it is on the pin loop on the inside. So it's not too bad. That might be too much for some people, but not too bad of branding for me. Hey, I hope you're liking the video so far. Don't forget to like, comment with any gear reviews you'd like to see in the future, and subscribe to MF for Research. Any support helps grow my little small corner of the EDC community. Now back to the video. All right, so now that we've talked about the sling, we've talked about the value, let's take a look at the table again. It's not gonna be empty in the next scene. We're gonna show you the loadout and how I actually use it for I think I had it for 2 months where I was using it before I switched to something else. So for the 2 months where I had it, what I carried. All right, let's start from the outside and work our way inside. So just starting over here on the custom hardware, here is the hand sanitizer bottle that they gave with the Kickstarter. So I just have this clipped on the outside, ready to go. And then on the other side where I wish it was like that, it's just another set of loops. There's just 2 right there, and I've got a hero clip right there. So now let's just start in the front. This is probably the most I'll ever use in here. I don't always have all this stuff in here all the time, but I wanted to show kind of max capacity, showing what it looks like when it's really filled up and filled out. So notice it's really not that bulky, and you'll see it in some of the B-roll too, what it looks like being worn. So let's hit those zipper pulls. Right in the front, I've just got a little mini first aid kit. So the pin loop up here, I missed it for about 3 weeks, and I ended up putting the pin right in that pin loop right there. So that's just my Bastion pin, bolt action. And then going in here, you could probably put your sunglasses in here, but I use this as like a hygiene pouch. So I've just got my Dude wipes, my hand sanitizer wipes, my foaming, my Tide wipes, my hand cream, and just all those wipes that you've seen in a ton of my videos. So we'll just take all that out so we don't make a mess and drop that all over the place. So like I said, you've seen all that stuff. So in here, I just have my MIUI Mini Plus. A lot of the things, like I said, you've seen before. Sometimes I put the cable in here, but this time I didn't have it in here, and I'll show you where I put it also. And I kept the paperwork just for this particular bag because I didn't want to lose it. I just kept it right in there, and I wasn't really using that pocket, so it didn't hurt right there. There's the key leash right there, and that's just that front compartment. So now I guess we'll call this the main compartment, and we'll just go in there and we'll take a look in here. And so there's nothing really on this side as far as organization, but right in there, this is where I had my 11-inch iPad Pro. It fits in there, no problem. There's no real dedicated spot, but it just fits in there, no problem. So I just have it set down right in there. And so we're gonna put that there. So these are the cables that I usually use. I know I've talked about these guys for a while. Not a huge fan. Well, they work and they work well, but the magnetization of the cable doesn't really make a big deal to me, but they do work as pretty good cable. So I do keep them with me and I do use them a lot. So they go in there, and then that's really all that I have in that main compartment right there. So the cables just sit right in that little notch between the 2 mesh pouches right there. So speaking of pouches, this is where I put my Garage Built Gear Mighty Pouch Plus. Done a whole video on this guy, so you've seen that before, so no need to really go into here. Know what I have in there. Take a look at that video. I'll link it in the description if you really want to know. So in here, I've got my Ugreen 100-watt, 20,000 milliamp hour battery. And that just goes in here, keeps everything charged. I try to keep it in here when I can remember, just because that's where the pass-through port is, and I can show you that here too. So that's where the pass-through port to charge everything sits right there. So that's what I have in there. And then I keep a big flashlight. I wanted to carry this guy around for a little bit. This is my Sophirian. I think it's the SC28. And it's just a real bright flashlight, as you guys can see. Kind of tactical, defensive style flashlight, but I really like this flashlight. So this was gone in here with me. And then that's all that I had in the main compartment. Could fit a little more, and I do like how stretchy these are. So now we'll go into the back compartment. And in here, usually what I had is I had my work phone. iPhone 12. And then this is my personal phone, iPhone 15 Pro Max. And one thing I did notice about that is you can't put the Pro Max over here or over here. You have to put it in the middle pocket for it to fit. Otherwise, the way it slopes, it won't give it enough room for the zipper to cover it. And then on this side, another field notes. Put that in there. Sometimes I would run a moleskin in here, but most of the time I had the field notes. So I wanted the bag to represent what I have most of the time, and I didn't put the field notes in here this time. Plus it's in another bag. And then the wallet that you've seen in plenty of videos. And then my dry key hanks. And that's pretty much what sits inside the bag. I don't think I have anything else in here. That's it. And so that's how we keep this guy loaded out. All right, so let's talk about what I liked about this sling. First and foremost, the organization was phenomenal on this guy. Perfect, had no complaints, none at all. So I think that's a real strong suit of this bag. I think the ability to expand and have that leader independency, I think is a strong suit in this bag that speaks to the organization as well. You could really load the pockets and wouldn't have to compete. So I really, really like that. And like I said, if you wanted a slim bag, you could just put what you need in here and let that automatic expansion contract for you and not have to worry about that. And again, the grab handle for a sling, simple, to the point. It doesn't have to be an elaborate, complicated thing. This does the job. If you want it a little beefy, you can paracord wrap this guy and be good to go. And I like the custom hardware. I like that durability of that metal on this side. I just wish they would have put it on both sides. Once again, shout out to the stretch mesh in here. It's one of my favorite features in a bag or a pouch. So definitely like when a bag incorporates that to give you that flexibility. All right, so now let's talk about, and I've alluded to it throughout the way, let's talk about some of the areas where I think this sling can improve. Put this on this side. I think that makes a fantastic addition. I really like that. I think just pick one material for the bag. Give me either the Codra, have to deal with the lint and all that stuff in the pilling, or just give me the ripstop. One or the other is fine. Both, I don't really know why they went that way. But if you're gonna go with that, figure out some kind of way to reduce that lint and that pilling on the bag. I don't really like that. It makes it look a lot older, I think, than what it is. I don't mind a good patina and breaking in something, but this didn't really give that with this. So I also had to be careful on what stuff I wore with this bag because that lint picked up on it pretty good. And I think on the website, I've never really gave this kind of opinion before. Give me more information about the bag on the website. Usually us bag nerds out there want the details. Give me the measurements. Length, width, height, depth, all that stuff. Let me know the denier. Let me know all that stuff. While it might not make sense for some, it's a very easy addition. You could update the website tonight and have it on there in the morning, and it would make a big difference for the bag nerds out there. Next, my next few areas are the strap. Obviously, you could either add, if you're gonna have the buckles here, put one right there as well to make the strap more ambidextrous. If you put the strap and the hardware there, right here as well, you make it a more ambidextrous bag, or you just put it in the middle. That way, it doesn't matter as much where the strap goes. Give the option for additional padding. I don't think it needs to come standard, but if you know who you are and you load your slings out pretty heavy, you can add that additional padding on the side, and I think that will go a long way when this guy is loaded out. And then the last thing, just the organization thing. While I love the organization and didn't have any problems with it, as I was going over and thinking about it in my review, I think a tablet pocket would be nice. You can fit a tablet here. I fit my tablet in this section most of the time, but it doesn't really have a dedicated tablet pocket. So you could flip something and make the dedicated tablet pocket like some of the other bags that you see out there, just to have that. I'd say probably in the back or something, but have a dedicated tablet pocket. Overall, let's look at the score. I'm gonna look at my screen so I don't mess it up this time. The actual raw score is 62 and the actual score is a 68.9. So putting that right in third place out of the 4 slings that I've covered so far. It's behind the Tom Talk and the Nutsack, and it's over the LCV or LVC, I always get it mixed up, by 511, the 8. So this is probably the 3rd best sling that I've covered so far. Nice first attempt from Orbitkey, but there's a few things to improve. So what do you think this sling is missing? Have you had your eye on this sling? What do you think would be a deal breaker on a sling for you? Take a look at some of the videos on the screen. They've got more of my content. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I'm Lamar with MF Research, and I'm out.